Welcome to the Pro Cheerleading Podcast, hosted by Mhkeeba
and Brittany, two former NFL cheerleaders discussing hot topics in the pro cheerleading industry
and revealing the truth behind the poms.
I guess it comes down.
Mhkeeba's all by herself today. I'm just kidding. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Welcome to our second live cheer chat. So we have another awesome episode coming at you guys this Wednesday.
Yes.
Who are we interviewing?
Derric, the one and only Derric Whitfield from the Washington Wizards. You guys, waiting till Wednesday was really hard. We talked to him in August, okay? And he just blessed our lives with, somebody said, I can't wait to hear the word, but I sound like I'm in church, it's Sunday. But he was just so informative, had so many awesome things to say and just perspective based on his time with the Wizards and his time as a male dancer. And so there's just so much there that we cannot wait to share with you. It's crazy.
Yeah, and congratulations to the Seahawks. They won today.
Thank God, man.
I was at work, but they had it up on our screens, and so I was able to watch a little bit and see that they pulled the W.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
And happy game day to everybody. Obviously, I was trying to look for people on the sidelines, but we're so happy it's football season. At least I am.
Totally.
What is the name of this episode?
We just decided, not going to lie, but we're going to call it Bounce Back by Little Mix.
Yes.
And it was just, it doesn't really relate to the episode at all, but to me...
Except he called it out as one of his favorite songs that he's done.
True. And it's just this high energy and just totally encompasses what he's about in terms of his choreography and just how awesome and bubbly and friendly he is. So we love Derric.
I can already envision what he would make up to that song because his choreography is crazy. If you guys don't know, please just go to the Wizards page or go to his page on Instagram and you'll see how crazy his choreography and how fun it is. And so he would put us onto the song way back in early August. So here it is. That's what the episode title is. But yes, let's just kick it off with your chat.
All right. So a little concerning and upsetting. Usually Mhkeeba's the one that finds these articles and she's sending to me and girl, can you believe what they're saying? Read this article. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I read it. Sometimes I don't. But
you don't read the articles?
Just because, I already know it. I'll read it, a paragraph, and I'm just I don't even want that negativity in my life right now.
Okay.
And then Mhkeeba goes attack mode. But I did that. She's, training me to be, this little pit bull that's just, rah, 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 trying to take everybody down.
Hard in the paint, you guys. I was so proud.
I did. I scrolled to the bottom of this article. It's by Sharon Grigsby. Is this the title?
This is the title.
Okay. Dallas Cowboys, let us get real about your outdated cheerleaders and the giant video board that exploits them. They are a 20th century throwback dragged into a new era that doesn't want or need them. And so I was really drawn into this article, and she basically goes in about how she was at a game and she felt like she saw some gentlemen, I don't know what ages they were, but basically...
Gentlemen, they're not gentlemen.
Okay, boys
right?
or men who were filming the jumbo screen and zooming in on the ladies' private parts and laughing, and one guy kept taking photos and zooming into certain areas and was showing his friends, and of course that was distracting to her, but I felt like the article kind of blamed the women.
Yes, it totally did.
Yeah, and she was just talking about all this crazy stuff and why are they still around,
that they were pelvic thrusting and
shimmying,
chest jiggled, and their bottoms were up and their long hair was sweeping the ground. She was just so extra with the attacking the women. And I thought maybe her point was just that, okay, hey, Dallas Cowboys management, if you're putting this on this 60-foot yard jumbotron and that's really, it's so zoomed in on the girls that's really the focus is what their bodies are doing in those uniforms. Okay, to some extent, okay. And I think, Brittany, I mentioned it, we should have a whole entire episode dedicated to just truth behind the poms, really what it means to be sexy as a cheerleader, how we feel about that. Should we be unapologetic? That's my vote. But, just maybe how we are portrayed and how we really feel about it. And that will require some definite input from you guys. What do you think? Because that was the only line that I was okay, point taken. If that's what is on the jumbotron, jumbo screen, then you're going to get that kind of idiotic reaction. But it doesn't mean that we should be doing anything different. the ladies should not be doing anything different.
Yeah, and that's her word. I mean, we don't know if they were just scanning across and maybe were zoomed in too far on a girl and then zoomed it out. I mean, we've seen the camera guys. We're friends with some of the camera guys.
I
we
flirt
know
with the
them
camera all the time.
Yeah,
so
see,
for me, it's nothing.
Right, exactly. But I scrolled down to the very bottom and tried to find her social media, and I totally blew up her Facebook page.
Get it, Britt?
Yeah, and I was shocked, like, at the support. I just thought at the beginning of this and when things were popping off with articles, I felt like there was kind of a neutral, like, fight, or, like, people would be in there saying, oh, I agree with this article, or just saying ignorant stuff.
Actually, you're right. I was shocked that there were so many people who were disagreeing with this woman, because a year ago, trust, we did a whole scan for our We're Not Gonna Take It episode, where we, like, looked at all the horrible articles wanting us to be banned as cheerleaders, and there were plenty of people who just went all in misogynistic comments, and there was nothing like that. There were more people who were disagreeing with her, but I was super proud to see your name.
Yeah,
like,
yes. So I totally, said my 2 cents, and people, I felt like, came to my support. One thing, though, that I kind of wanted to point out was there was a woman on there commenting about how you didn't even know that basically the uniform's been submitted to the Smithsonian Institute, and they are a coveted and respected form of dancing and cheerleading, what have you. And it just was disappointing because Sharon does mention that in the article. And so I felt like Sharon commented to that lady and was like, actually, you didn't read my article because I did mention it. And so I just kind of felt like, man, if only like people were fighting the good fight with us, kind of did their research as well, because if we come in informed and can back up what we're saying. I mean, I'm not blasting that lady, but I just thought, I'm like, dang, if only she kind of did read the article.
See, that's why you have to read the article.
You have to read the article.
But it's true, though. Like, of course, that woman's going to come in and defend the one comment, right? That's like...
Exactly.
That she actually has a defense for. Like, I actually did say that, but I didn't see any comments from her throughout the comments the last time that I looked. Like, she's not defending her stuff at all. And then, you guys... Paige Skinner, if you guys don't know who Paige Skinner is, she's a really talented writer. She did the article for Time Magazine, and she came back hard with the clap back article. Like, she said everything that I would have, well, Brittany even said everything that I would have wanted to say, but just seeing her quickly respond and get that stuff up there. Her article heading was, "Despite the Dallas Morning News column, there is a place for the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders." Sounds neutral and stuff, but then she just goes hard in the paint with the analogies and everything. But the woman had pointed out, like, girls in the stands are wearing, Dak Prescott's jersey, Jason Witten jerseys. They're not wearing sparkly fringed costumes, which was so ignorant, because we all know that the DCC has, like, the craziest junior program, and there's tons of little girls, 1,200, I think, from Paige's article that participated in the program. So she's full of crap on that one. Yes, they do want to be us, okay, and they are looking up to us. And then the lady said something about, just really pointing out that women have different roles in sports now, and like, why should we be on the sidelines cheering for men? But Paige really represented, and she's like, not all women go to school for business or, journalism. Some women prepare their whole entire lives through dance to be a pro cheerleader. So she just really had the awesome sarcastic tone that I love so much that basically just called this woman out. And my favorite part was the analogy to gymnasts in terms of the attire that they wear. It's sparkly, it's form-fitting, and she said if men were behaving poorly at these gymnastic events by strolling into the women's crotches or breasts, like, would you attack the gymnasts, or would you actually write an article addressing the men's behavior? And she pointed out, like, you unfairly blame the women. And I just think that, I just love how quick she was with it and getting those articles published, repping the pro cheerleaders and really calling it like it is. Go Paige.
Yeah, she came through on that for sure.
Yes.
She made a few more comparisons, like professional swimmers wearing the Speedo, like how dare he exploit himself. Just if someone took a close-up photo of a certain area, like, how is that his problem or fault?
Exactly. I would not do that. I've never watched swimming and zoomed in on Speedo crotches.
But it's just more representative of, like, the person taking that photo.
Right.
But it shouldn't be the blame of the person who kind of is the victim of somebody taking advantage of our, like, smartphones and technology.
Exactly.
That's not our problem.
If it's happening at games, that's something that, unless they're going to modify the tickets to say that can get you kicked out of the stadium, I mean, you're going to have jack behinds. I'm not cursing this episode, you guys. I want it nice and clean for Derric's interview. No, I'm kidding. But I think, unless you're going to actually kick them out or address their behavior, then don't put it on us, okay? That men don't know how to contain themselves. Like, that's the whole part of me, too. Like, you can't have that as an excuse to behave poorly and objectify women, assault women, harass women just because of any reason, really. There's no justification, period, point blank in the story.
Yep.
Okay, but we are
on.
linking those articles below. I mean, we don't want this woman to get any more clicks and attention, but read it and then read Paige's because it's way better.
Yeah, and go attack on her Facebook page. Yes. You're going to see all the support. It was really uplifting to see people come together and kind of blast her in a negative light instead of praise her article, and I was excited to see that.
Exactly. So. And the people who agreed with her often looked a lot like her. Middle-aged, older lady that looks like she doesn't have very much fun with her life.
True.
I'm not going to attack her looks like a lot of people did, but the comments are a little juicy. Go check them out.
Yeah. All right, what else, Mhkeeba?
So I was excited to see on the Detroit Pistons Twitter page that their director, Natalie, she was kind of explaining that 6 years ago that they started out with the Coed dance team, and I think recently with this year they decided to bring back the individual teams because she said that while they enjoyed doing that, it took away from the passion and individuality of each team. And so they returned to having the individual teams that like come together and collaborate for like halftime performances. And I just thought maybe that's kind of, other teams are catching on to this a little late and going co-ed, and then they're going to realize that maybe to some extent you're stifling the creativity of having the teams separated because, you know, the girls want to be girls, they want to do girly, sassy, totally feminine type stuff because we're women, you know, and maybe the guys are like sacrificing a little bit of their style, if you will, by trying to do routines that are like geared towards both. So I thought maybe them discovering that the best way that they can entertain their fans is by having separate performances really was somewhat encouraging for me. I mean, I think that's the right direction, but I think that's what's so cool about this interview with Derric is that we're going to see how he's making it work, and still to be determined like how it's landing on the fans. That was their first season last year, being co-ed with the Washington Wizards, but just something to keep an eye on. Maybe it's going to like come full circle. Maybe they'll realize that these entertainment teams and co-ed thing is just an experiment that's going to maybe not work. We'll see.
Yeah. And before the interview, one more thing we wanted to talk about is another article that was put out.
It's a feel-good one.
Yeah, it's so cute. It's the secret to a long, happy, and healthy life is cheerleading. Importance of dancing at any age, and basically just kind of leads into Derric's involvement with the Wisdom, which is their 55-plus-year-old dance team. Yes. We got to see them perform, and they like killed it and were so awesome. I can't believe that Derric manages like so many different teams with the Wizards. But the article was basically outlining how depressing it is to work a 9 to 5. Like, seriously, I hate to say it, but like Mondays are such a drag. So when I was on the team, looking forward to practice after even a long day of working, but just being able to dance at the end of the day was like super powerful, and I got like that surge of extra energy. And so this article was just basically about some 55 plus people who basically created and are in like a dance team.
I mean, just the fact that they were able to address the loneliness that you feel probably as you age, and now have a community of sisters that they get to see. I mean, just the light up in their faces in the article and the pictures was just so touching. So we wanted to share that with you, and just, again, kudos to the Wizards organization for giving opportunities to older people to dance. I think it's amazing.
Well, we seriously thank you so much for like making time in such a crazy behind week for you. I can only imagine coming back from Vegas, period, whether you're partying or not, is a lot.
That time difference definitely hits.
Yeah. So did you go to Pro Action and PRO?
Correct, yes.
Okay, you whooped my butt a few years ago at PRO, and I was like, oh my gosh, what am I getting myself into? You whooped my butt.
Oh my gosh, yes, I love PRO. Pro Action was great too. You know, it was busy. It was my first time there. I was honored to receive that call and to join their family. And I think, you know, things went pretty well, and, you know, looking forward to continuing working with them and hopefully working with PRO as well. So,
man, your routines stand out like nobody's business. Given your injury that you are recovering from, you said you tore your ACL? Achilles, okay.
How did you do that?
Yeah. What were you
at practice?
At practice.
At a practice, yes. I tore it at a practice, like right at the beginning of the season. It was crazy. Last year was insane.
Oh. Yeah, because how do you even manage to choreograph things as you're trying
from a chair?
From a chair?
Yeah, just kind of from a chair. I would explain stuff. We ended up repeating a lot of material from last year. You know, my captains did a fantastic job kind of stepping in and filling in the gaps. And I have some of my dancers who also help me coach some of my auxiliary teams, my kids team and my senior team. And so, everybody just kind of had to step up, especially those first couple of months, before I was really able to kind of get back on my feet, so it happened honestly because of them, everybody kind of pulling together and,
Wow.
me just kind of really being a visionary. And that was it for a couple of months until I was able to get up and move around again.
Wow. So pro action was kind of your first thing
Full out.
back into it. Yeah, right?
Yeah, pro action. I kind of took it a little bit lighter this season just because I was recovering from the injury, but summertime I kind of started to feel good. So both of the conventions, I kind of just said, let me kind of go out there a little bit and just tried a little bit. And so every week I try to do a little bit more and try to add more technique, try to turn a little bit longer, try to do this, do that. It's tough.
Try to flip and land in the splits,
Oh, I don't know about that anymore. I don't think, splits, I was at my 20s and my 30s. I don't know about all that.
Oh my gosh. Well, we cannot wait to hear all about your background as a dancer. I mean, I don't even know where to begin. You've done so many amazing things and we adore you already. So sorry if my cheeks are just starting to burn because I'm cheesing so hard. So tell us about your dance background. Like, how young did you start? Where have you danced?
So I'm originally from Houston. I was born and raised there, and I started dancing. I was 5 years old. My kindergarten teacher was actually my first dance teacher, and there was like a Christmas program or something, and our class had to dance, and apparently I was a really good dancer. And then next thing I knew, dance classes and then competition. And it just kind of took off from there. And I played all types of sports. I played football, I played basketball, I played tennis. But dance is just that one thing that I did first and was just the most passionate about. So I just kind of stuck with it and was blessed to be able to parlay it into a career.
Whoa.
Wow.
He said it in like 2.5 seconds.
I know.
I'm sure there was
I think there's something else in the middle there. Like, how'd you go to the director of like a million?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that was how I started. I was just saying how I started. So, I mean, I danced all competitively at a competitive studio pretty much all throughout elementary, middle, high school. Danced in college. I went to Xavier University of Louisiana, was on their Gold Star dance team there.
Okay.
Was the choreographer and like moderator of that team. And that's kind of where I got my first exposure into sports performing and performing because we performed at basketball games. And that's kind of what lit my fire. A couple of years later, I'm out of school, audition for the WNBA Houston Comets comes up, and I go to that audition and I make it. And that kind of threw me into the world of the NBA. After my first season, the Rockets started a kids team, and I ended up being one of the coaches of that team, and that exposed me to the NBA, and then became an assistant coach there. And I worked with the Rockets doing that and working also with Game Entertainment for 6 seasons. And then I moved to the Wizards in 2012, the year of the lockout, and inherited a team. And then from there, just kind of rebranded and built it up to what it is now. And we, they were Wizard Girls, now we're Wizard Dancers, now we're Coed. But yeah, I've been here and just kind of got my opportunity and just kind of kicked the door open and haven't looked back since, really.
So your time as a dancer when you were both in college and starting out, how co-ed was it?
It definitely wasn't the norm. In the South, you do see more co-ed dance teams just because dance and cheer, is a lot bigger. And I think in the South, so especially like in Texas, Louisiana, California, you tend to see more co-ed dance teams. Okay. There were other dance teams in the area that were co-ed when I was in school. Mm-hmm. Actually, our rival school also had a couple of guys on their team, and there was a school nearby, Southern. Actually, they had some guys, some male dancers there who, we all kind of networked and worked with. So I've been around it. For a while. It's definitely a new trend in the industry, obviously.
Right. I was just curious if it was like 1 or 2 or if it was like a lot more.
I was the only guy on my team, but there were other teams. There weren't like 4 or 5 guys on teams, but there were a lot of teams in Louisiana that had at least a male dancer on the team. So, I've seen it before.
Okay, cool. Good context, because I know we, like you said, it is getting bigger. And so just to be able to help people understand that, especially in different parts of the country where it is a little bit more common to see it.
Right.
I don't want to dominate. Usually when I get excited, I just like go like this and Brittany can't get a word in edgewise.
I would say that being with the Wizards so far from 2012, you said, to now, you've seen so many changes. And you've taken on so many more programs. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Sure. So when I first came to the Wizards, I had just the dance team, just the Wizard Girls at the time. At that time, the kids team was contracted out, and they did the Wizards, and they also did the WNBA side. When they came on, they started to bring all of the entertainment programs in-house. So, and then from there, it was the dance team. And once we kind of got them to a place where we needed to be, we always had the dance team and the kids team. And then we just kind of started opening up new and different programs. We kind of revamped our Power Pack team a little bit. We kind of started doing different things with the dance team and them dampering into more theme nights and different styles of routine that became a lot more kind of hip hop based. And then we kind of revamped and did a refresh of our arena. And a lot of that affected our game presentation, which kind of funneled down to what promotions we will be doing, which funneled down to entertainment teams, which, okay, let's make the dance team co-ed. Let's add a 50-plus dance team and the Wisdom. I also coach the WNBA team, which is a kids team. I also now have both of our interactive squads. We had 2 arena football dance teams for a hot second. So, yeah, it's a lot. I've done it all pretty much.
He's got to run to another practice here in about 5 minutes, so we got to condense it down. Jeez,
I'm done with practices now, but all that will start up pretty soon.
Oh, my gosh. Okay, that's a lot.
It is a lot.
And I love how fast you talk. So it's like, okay, whoa, I got to start taking some notes. But
he's like, I got to go to sleep. So can we get this over?
No, you're fine.
Fine.
Especially
it's
when
like,
it's about dance. I'm just passionate. That's all.
Oh, no, I love it.
Passionate about what we do.
And he teaches that fast, too. It's like 1 and 2 and 3 and 5 into the splits. And I was like,
my dancers will definitely agree with you that I teach fast.
Like, I want to go back home. I tried my best, though. It was a really good learning experience for sure.
Thank you.
I think that you definitely melded the co-ed request very well. And I just think a lot of teams could really use you as an example. Did you have the ability to basically create how the co-ed would look, or was it told to you kind of?
You know what? I was one of the ones who was lucky enough to where I did have my hand in some of those conversations. Not all of them, but when it came down to what this would look like and how it would be executed, the company did trust me to do it and respected me as the expert in the area. And I basically presented several different options that we could go about doing these and ultimately let them make the decision. And, we hashed out whatever differences and other things, within that process as far as uniforms and team naming and rebranding and some other things. But, for the most part, even though it's always a touchy subject, we try to handle it with the most compassion as possible, with the most respect for our dancers as possible. One of the things that I fought for was adding to the program, not getting rid of or making the program different. We kept the same style for the most part. The first year of the team, I was very adamant about keeping 20 spots for women on the team and adding men, not making the women compete with men for their spot. I thought that was important. So we kept 20 women, and we added 10 men to the program. Now, granted, I had a team of 30, which drove me crazy. It was the fair and right and compassionate thing to do. The Wizard Girls, the company respected that program, and they were extremely talented and great ambassadors for the community. But as things change, you have to sometimes make those tough decisions. But it's about, if you do things proper and you do things from a place of compassion and respect, it goes over smoothly. And I think we just were an example of that.
Amen to that. I can 100%
I know.
agree.
I'm like nodding my head and it's going to fall off. I really applaud your fight in terms of just pushing for it. And I think being just such a professional about it, because we know that sometimes direction comes down from wherever up high, and they had enough respect for you and everything that you've done in the industry to have it be a dialogue and just pushing for what I think we've struggled with in terms of trying to advocate, like what would have been a better way of going about it. I did notice that like you guys had the biggest number of dancers out of all the NBA teams. And I was like, how did he get 20? I mean, this past season, I think it was 29, but I was just like, how did he get to have that many dancers? Because the rest of the teams are, 16, 18, 20, 20 members. But hearing about how you got to that number by pushing to keep the same spots open for women is huge.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the fair thing to do. You know what I'm saying? If the situation was flipped or something like that, I would push for the same thing if I was a dancer. As a coach, I try to make sure that my dancers understand, I mean, yes, it's my vision, but you guys are the canvas. So you can't have one without the other. There is no me without them. There's no them without me. And so like that respect, because that's my philosophy, like having that level of respect and compassion for them was kind of second nature to me.
Was it an interesting transition that first year of having the men on the team? I mean, we went to a game and we did get to see you guys in action and everything, and it's, you know, seemed to flow pretty smoothly because that was your first season with the guys, right?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing, you know, was just kind of meshing kind of what the program was to what the expectations of the program would be, and just kind of fitting the men into what we have, but then also changing some of the things that the women did to be able to make it flow with the men. You know, one of the directives that we got was that we wanted one team. We didn't want them to still look like two teams or a team that was co-ed that just featured the guys. Like, it was very important to me, you know, as a male and, you know, someone who, you know, whatever, like, I wanted to just fuse them and make one program. I think that was important. So, you know, it took a lot of hard work to get the men to move like the women to move like the men. The transitions were tough because men, we have so much more energy. Our legs and our limbs are so much bigger, so we cover more space when we travel. Little things like that, you know, we were coming and, you know, being able to figure out. But, you know, once we kind of got to the middle of the season and we were able to kind of figure out what formula worked for us, you know, it really, really kind of started to go, you know, very smoothly. And shout out to them. Like, you know, the expectation from them was really tough, but they handled it like pros. So to my wizard dancers from the 18-19 season, love you guys. Y'all did a fantastic job.
I would have never known that it was the first season. Honestly, coming in at the game, I thought that's how it always was. And then Mhkeeba was like, no, this is kind of like a new rebranding.
I knew it as Wizard Girls from my little DC days, but yeah, no, it was really smooth. I know we were talking about, I forget, it was our Welcome to DC episode where we did a recap, but I don't know if the guys, because they're dancers, you could tell they're trained dancers, but certain aspects of what the game day experience is like for girls, where you're like rallying and doing all the like hype up the crowd stuff. It was kind of cute to see guys trying to do that, because I mean, I'm sure that was a little foreign for them.
Yeah, it was. And, you know, and we had that talk, you know, you've got to be a dancer, you got to be a cheerleader, you got to, you know, the job really is both. But I mean, again, we just stuck to like, they're one team, they're one program. So if one, you know, does it, then, you know, we try to make it to work to where both of them can do it. Of course, that didn't play out with everything, because, you know, gender will present some differences and some issues where one can't do the other. I mean, and that is what it is. But for the most part, you know, we definitely made sure that they were as cohesive as possible. So yeah, we're doing Welcome to DC tradition. Guys, you got to learn it. It's tradition. Welcome to the team. You know?
A lot of our listeners say things like, I wish we knew how each program was run. And so it's just so cool to hear your approach and how you made it all come together. And I think a lot of the chatter is also like, okay, now that guys are part of the team, are they held to the same standard? You know, do they have to be beautiful, do weigh-ins? I mean, I don't really know if that's even applicable anymore. A lot of teams have kind of moved on from that. But it sounds like you hold them to the same standard. And
yeah, absolutely. We take care of, for example, for the female dancers, we take care of their hair and make sure that if we want them to look a certain way all the time, we make sure that we maintain that for them. The guys get the exact same thing. You know, their haircuts are covered. If they need, you know, we give them stipends for things that we don't cover, like eyelashes and makeup and stuff like that. But, you know, like everyone gets the same thing to make sure that they have the resources that they need to just do the job professionally. They all get gym memberships. You know, we don't do weigh-ins and stuff like that, but, you know, we definitely make sure that we're working out as a team. We have rehearsals at our gym space as well. So they're there anyway. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, get here a few minutes early, you know, get your workouts in, get your cardio in. But yeah, I mean, the guys were held to the exact same standards, you know, as the women. So, you know, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. The contract is a contract. It's here. It's black and white.
Yeah. When I was commenting on how fast you were talking, it was because there were so many different programs that you mentioned that you're also responsible for. So I was like, what is that? So you also do the interactive teams? Is that what I was hearing?
Yes. So our crowd patrol kind of interactive teams.
Okay.
I oversee those as well. Yeah. How many teams is it? It's
like, how many people are we talking about total?
I have around 125 entertainers that I work with.
Wow.
That's insane. All by yourself?
Yeah.
Do you have an assistant?
I don't have so I have an assistant in the office. I do have a coordinator who is full-time, works with me in the office, and he helps me a lot with the crowd hype teams and some of the auxiliary teams and making sure that I'm not going crazy and that I have the support that I need administratively. But I also, some of my dancers who are, interested in choreography, I try to provide them opportunities as well. So I have 3 dancers who work with me with my kids team. I have 4 who work with me with my wisdom. And then I also have 3 who work with me. It's the same 3 who work with me with the WNBA as well.
Wow. Yeah, because that's just so much. Like when
I can barely do my day job. Like,
I mean, when you throw in the WNBA, I'm like, wait, not just the Wizards, you're also doing WNBAs. I mean, that's
it's pretty much nonstop throughout the year with games and rehearsals and stuff like that.
So how does it work with we'll do like one little team at a time. So how often do the Wizard dancers need to practice? Like, what's that like during the season? And then we'll move on to kind of like the other team.
Awesome. Yeah. So the dancers practice mostly twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week, depending on like the schedule. If we have a 6-game homestand, obviously we're going to have to throw some extra rehearsals in there, but they're typically twice a week for about 2.5 to 3 hours a week. And we try to get everything done with that because they all have full-time jobs or are in school. So.
Okay. So you got that. And then you have, let's do the kids because how do you even manage practice times with child labor and how does that even work?
So basically it's pretty much like a recreational program, that they're signing their kids up for. They have 1 practice a week for the most part. They only perform on weekends. We do a few select appearances every blue moon, but nothing, too much. They practice once a week. So the kids usually will practice on Sundays. We don't do anything during the weekdays to interfere with their school or their dance studio schedules. So they rehearse on like Sunday afternoons. And then my senior team, my 50+ team, the Wisdom, they usually will come in right after. So I'm usually in rehearsal sometimes. And then if I have the dancers on a Sunday, the dancers will pop in after that. So sometimes I'm at work on Sundays from like 1 to 8, just kind of depends if I need to have all 3 of those rehearsals. But I try to do the dancers during the week and my auxiliary teams on Sundays. That's the program that works for me right now.
Okay.
To add more stuff, we got to figure it out.
Or add more staff. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, we need to add more staff. So, we're definitely getting to that point and trying to work through all that and figure all that stuff out. So, you definitely got to love it because it takes up a lot of time.
A lot of time. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So where do the WNBA people fit in then?
So WNBA,
right?
They rehearse on Sundays as well because my WNBA team is a kids team as well. So they rehearse on Sundays as well, but they are basically in rehearsals now. So they rehearse during the summer. WNBA season runs from like late May to like September or so. So they're, once I'm kind of wrapping up with Wizards and everything else, I kind of just roll right into WNBA, and that I just do that simultaneously with audition. So that gets a little crazy. Next week will be interesting, but other than that, we'll be fine.
Thank you for making time for us. I still can't even believe that you were able to fit it in with everything coming up this weekend. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, let me say this too. I love what you guys are doing, and I think that you guys just having a voice and discussing some of the issues that you discuss is awesome. And so I'm honestly honored that you guys reached out and wanted to have me here. And I think what you're doing is really great. So I definitely wanted to make the time to, get this in for you guys. And for real, I'm really honored that you guys, wanted to speak with me. I mean,
we finally got not balls, but we finally got we finally got the nerve to ask, but it was just, we've had so much respect for you for so long. And I mean, I was too scared to take the class, but Brittany kind of had to take the class. But no, we've been dying to talk to you. And Jasmine was so cool to share her tickets with us when we came out to DC.
Right. That's right.
Like, I don't know, that might be too much to ask her to be like, can we just go meet them? But anyway, we've been a big fan of yours, so we're super, super excited to talk to you with your busy schedule. Thanks. More questions. I have so many more.
Me too. Okay. So in a female-dominated director position, how do you handle being one of the very few males that are directors?
It's actually pretty cool. Sitting back and thinking, it's a weird story. After being in the NBA for a couple of years, I kind of sat down and I had my 25, I don't know what I'm going to do, early midlife crisis type situation. But I knew that I loved working for the NBA, and I went to school. I was a biology major. I'm a science nerd. But this was just something that kind of just took over my passion. And I told myself, I said, by the time I'm 28, I want to be an NBA director. And literally, I think 2 weeks before my 29th birthday or something like that, I got the call. So I'm just destined to be here and navigating it. Honestly, some of those directors out there on the NFL and the NBA, they're some of my best friends and colleagues, and I can call on them anytime. They've always been super welcoming, to me, and on the NBA and the NFL side. It's been great. And it's kind of cool to be I'm kind of one of the only guys who does this, and it's a great conversation starter. And so, it's cool, but it hasn't been bad because, we're all one big happy family for the most part, and, we make it work.
That's crazy. So was the director before you a woman?
Yes.
So this was a new kind of situation.
Yes, and it wasn't, I believe, and I'm pretty sure the position wasn't full time.
Okay.
It was a kind of a contract coach, choreographer type position. I believe there were two, if I'm not mistaken. And then they kind of just brought the position in and made it full time to look at, have someone who can totally just focus on it and look at it from all different angles, from marketing to social media presence to, community outreach and all this other stuff. So.
Yeah, because there's so many other aspects to it, obviously, and we're preaching to the choir in terms of not just dance, but it's a business that you're actually managing, and I'm sure budgets and all sorts of personnel type. There's just so much that goes along with the director role. And I think even in us being able to talk to Michelle from Portland, and we didn't even really touch on all of the other aspects of the role that are just so business related, and community service and or engagement, all those things. So I'm glad it's a full-time position for you guys, honestly, because I don't know how
because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to think about. That usually any director in this position is doing 2 or 3 people's jobs. From whether it's a social media standpoint, your marketing. Some people even sell sponsorships. So it's a lot, but you just do what you can to make sure that you have all the resources and all the tools that your dancers need to succeed, and in your program, and you try to give to them as much as possible. So we just do it, make it work.
Wow. And maybe this is what kind of question is that? But I'm thinking more about in the locker room, guys in the room, and we're do you have your own locker room or flash?
Yeah, they do actually. So we have 2 separate locker rooms, and then basically. They're separate. They're together at our court rehearsals, but they report to 2 separate locker rooms. They're right next to each other. And then we have just a hard time, since the girls' space is bigger than the males. We basically, I think our game starts at 7, so we usually meet up at 6:45. So all of the women know to be ready by 6:45. The men will come over. I will meet them over there, and we do our pre-game meeting, and we go through this, the game scripts and all that stuff at that point. But yeah, they're in separate locker rooms. Okay. Because they have to be. And yeah, we just always make sure, that we they have what they need. So, and we're lucky that we kind of have space, and we have to fight over that and take them from other people and this and that and the third. But, I got
to make it work.
And so for sure on game days where you have performances from the other team, so we were there, the Wisdom performed. So do they have their own room, or is it kind of gender split and you have the
no, so usually the auxiliary teams, they don't get a room because we don't actually have another room for them. So they will come in as fans, and then what we'll do is, let's say if they're performing in the second quarter, we'll get them middle of the first quarter, bring them down, let them kind of warm up, rehearse in the back, they go perform, and then they're able to actually go back and be with their families and friends and stuff like that. And it's really just because I just don't have the space for them. And I have staff, but I'd have to watch them, be on headset. It's just too much going on. So they usually kind of come down do their thing, and then they get to go back and they are free to go, or they get to, you know, hang out with their friends, family, and whatever they do. Another cool thing that we do is we do for all of our auxiliary teams, actually all of our teams, you know, we try to provide them tickets. You know, so the auxiliary teams, they get tickets to every game that they perform at. And then the dancers, we have like a system where we split a couple of pairs of season tickets, and then we kind of split them through a rotation. So everyone gets like decent 100 level seats to 2 or 3 games a year, depending on kind of how the rotation flows. So
super cool. And we got to meet some of the wisdom in the stands, and I think it's really cool because you get to like interact and like, were you just performing? I think it's really cool.
It works. They love it. Loves the wisdom. Everybody loves them. Like they're everywhere. They are literally, they're performing at the City Open in a couple of weeks. I just found out. So I mean, they are everywhere. It's amazing.
That is so cool. Well, talk us through that. We're definitely going to link below the YouTube series at AARP's.
Sure.
But the decision to have a 50-plus team, we saw like the auditions process and just how seriously they take it, and you took it, and I have tons of questions about wisdom.
That was something, honestly, that I had wanted to do a while back. So one of the things I got to do with the Rockets was I actually got to coach their senior team as well while I was there. It's funny, my dad actually is on their team too. So
Stop it.
Yes, I kid you not. He's actually on their team. He danced with them too while I was there, and has been there. I think he's been on it like 9 years or something like that. It's insane. But
you got it from your daddy then.
yeah. Oh, my dancing, definitely. I got it from my dad, and he will tell you that he taught me everything.
I love it.
So we need to interview him next then.
Yep. Derric Senior.
But no, so it was something that was just really fun, and you know, they dance for different reasons. It's not about the glitz and the glam or, you know, wanting to build, you know, a career or something like that. It's just for fun. And so it's that moment where you get to step into a director's role, but just truly let your hair down. The routines, they are amazing, but they don't have to be perfect. I think people just get behind them for a different reason because they're relatable. You know what I'm saying? To a little bit more universally than say you're, you know, beautiful or extremely handsome, chiseled, you know, athletic dancer. You understand what I'm saying? You know, they're just a little bit more relatable, and it's just something different, and it was something fresh, you know, for our fans. That was one of the things that, you know, our company kept pitching was we wanted to, you know, revamp and just refresh everything. And, you know, I really took that, and I felt like it was a perfect time to say, why don't we do this here? We pitched it, AARP jumped on it, and literally it took off like a rocket. And
that was marketing genius, by the way, AARP and the whole.
Yes, it was. I mean, it worked out. And what's crazy is their office is actually right across the street from ours. So it was easy for us to kind of come up with that relationship. And when we put out the call, you know, that we were starting this new dance team, instantly, you know, them and a couple other people jumped on it. But, you know, at the end of the day, you know, we definitely enjoyed working with AARP. The Road to Wisdom series was fun, and I got to dabble in a little bit of television with that.
I know.
You know, but I mean, they did a phenomenal job with that, and they've been a huge partner of ours and have supported the Wisdom a lot and really helped propel that group to kind of where they are today. So, yeah, their season was extremely successful, and just like, who knew that it would take off like that? But it was great.
Because this was the first year too, right?
Yeah, it was the first. A lot of firsts for me. First major surgery, first Coed team, first wisdom team. It was. I still don't know how I got through it, but I got through it. Amen.
Wow. Oh my gosh, you could not have possibly had much of a social life during this time, but I mean, what a huge successful year to have inaugural seasons for different teams.
Everything.
I cannot.
Wow.
So coaching the Wisdom, I mean, you mentioned the routines don't have to be perfect in terms of how they perform it, but how do you even have a sense for what choreography would be appropriate for that age group? Or does that come to mind at all when you?
You know, I think for them, I try to merge what they're comfortable with what's current. And kind of try to just gel the two together. I found that when I give them a little something that they're a little bit more comfortable with, it loosens them up. And then I'm able to throw in, okay, now here's how you Millie rock. okay, let's talk about how to twerk. Let's talk about how to do this. Let's talk about how to do that. But I'm also mixing it in. So typical mix for them would be something old school, kind of merged with something new school, or if it's something like really classic, like a LL Cool J or, something like that. But that group, I mean, they're fun. If I told them I wanted them to break dance, they would try it. Like they push themselves so much, and they just want to be great for themselves. They want to be great for me. They want to be great for the company. Like they are just a really fun group to work with. But yeah, I mean, and we try things out, and sometimes things don't work, and we just make it work. But at the end of the day, I make sure that they feel comfortable and that they feel confident about what they're doing. And then they always deliver for me. So as long as I give them that, I know they're going to knock it out of the park. So that's just how we roll.
I love it. I love it. Did they have any injuries or anything, or do you worry about them pulling stuff?
Not really, no. We definitely take into account, some of them do have different injuries or ailments or something like that. But, we definitely take into account and make sure that we're not doing anything that's too overly athletic for them, that could put them in harm's way, but also challenges them at the same time, to push their bodies a little bit to the limit. And so, there's kind of that balance and give and take and stuff like that. But if there's something that they're not feeling, they will be the first to tell me.
I was going to say, I know you get a lot of pushback with that group.
I can get down there, but I'm not getting up by 7. You and we just compromise. We make it
I love
work,
it.
That's the best. And I was telling Brittany, there was the Charlotte Honeybees were doing an appearance at a nursing facility or elderly care facility, but just seeing the interaction of young dancers and getting 50 plus to dance as well, and just seeing the joy, like you just literally see faces light up, and it's just so cool. And them having the opportunity to do something that they either always wanted to, or I was all up in that AARP.
Yeah, some of the stories, I think that was my favorite part. Just the stories and the reasons why made me just want to make sure that, they were rock stars even more, just because it was just so genuine and just true, and pure. It was really beautiful to hear why some of them wanted to do, and be a part of the wisdom. So, I mean, that was cool.
Cool. I love it.
I love it too. I mean, thank goodness to the Wizards organization, obviously any sponsorships, whatever is helping to fund comfortably to have this many opportunities for dancers is really, really cool to have that kind of backing from the organization, because, obviously it takes a lot of resources to be able to take care of your dancers, and especially of all ages. So did the kids get paid, or they're not so much paid? You're just recreating?
No, they're not. They're written up a little bit differently.
Okay.
So yeah, it's kind of like if you were to join a program or like a club sport, if you will, something like that. But yeah, they don't pay for uniforms or tickets or anything like that. Everything is provided to them, and they just kind of show up and get free training. The only thing we ask that they do is that they just audition, and that they're committed to kind of as much of the games as possible. So yeah.
Yeah, what a cool opportunity.
Okay,
I want to shift to auditions. So because you're getting pulled in so many different directions, do you kind of look for people who have leadership skills that could take on more and lead a team, or no?
I look for that out of my veterans, I think. Coming in, I think leadership skills are great. But I think coming in off the bat, I think it's important to kind of come in and get your bearings and understand what it is you're doing. And with the NBA, with there being so many games and just so many different situations, we prep you for it, but you do most of the learning about the game and the atmosphere on the job. It's a lot. It's an overwhelming amount of information initially. But yeah, I mean, with me getting pulled in a lot of directions, I look for dancers who are kind of at the level that we are or above. We definitely try to make sure that we step up something every year, with our program. And so I definitely look for people who are at the level that we need them to be, because I don't have time to backtrack. You know what I'm saying? With
okay.
I teach it once, we throw it on a video, and there you go.
So I would make your team. Okay. If PRO was my audition, see ya.
Yeah. But, you definitely got to be on top of your A game. But, we look for different varieties of dancers and different shapes and different looks and edges and styles because we do so much. We're not just a jazz team. We're not just a hip hop team. So I have dancers who are extremely technical, but maybe a little bit weaker on hip hop or vice versa. The main goal is to be versatile in all the styles, to be the jazzy, the pom, and the hip hop. And that's when you really get to kind of have fun with this. So that's kind of what I look for. Just.
Is it sink and swim with your choreography? Like you don't got to buy?
No. I go through it. I usually take like an hour. To go through the choreography at auditions, depending on how long the piece is. But, I definitely want to make sure that people feel comfortable and put their best foot forward. I do put some combinations in there that are just designed to make sure that you're thinking and that you aren't just fumbling through it. I am going to put something in there that's going to mess you up. I mean, that's just, just to make sure that people, are thinking and are paying attention to the detail. One round is usually easy. One round I usually come out of a bag, and it fluctuates every year. So, who knows? I think it's going to be round 3, but you didn't hear that from me.
This will air after auditions, in fact.
You didn't hear that from me. So.
I can go on and on about auditions. It's great to hear from your perspective what you're looking for. We get so many people that write in talking to us about just, gosh, what if you're a slow learner and how do you keep up during training camp? I don't know if you have training camp as part of your...
I do. Yep.
Okay. So maybe you can just speak to that during the training camp, you're like, I don't know, you guys are kicking everybody's butts with a bunch of choreography and maybe workouts. Are you really judgmental on how quickly someone picks up, or do you look to see, okay, they came back and they knew their stuff?
Yeah.
No, I think one of the cool things, I'm going to say one of the cool things about me, but one of the things that I understand as a coach is everyone learns differently. And I do have some dancers on my team who are amazing dancers that are sleep on it, as I call them. Like they have to sleep on the dancers. And that's okay. That's perfectly fine. I think if that is you through a training camp, just making sure that you come back the next day and you do have it.
Yeah.
That you show, because if you do get to a training camp, then you do get multiple days to really show who you are. So if you're able to make it through, those rounds where you have to pick it up quickly and do it, if you're able to make it through that and then get to the training camp, you're challenged with even more choreography and workouts. For me, I'm looking to see progression. And ultimately what I'm looking to see is from the moment I taught you to the dance to the moment that you did auditions, whether that's 2 days or 3 days, or if I had 2 or 3 auditions in the training camp, when it's time for you to perform it, is it ready to go? And if it's ready to go, then I know, okay, that's just how you are. But when it comes time for you to deliver, you can deliver.
Right.
I think that's the thing, is that, you got to get that vote of confidence that at the end of the day, you can deliver what's being asked of you, the choreography, the routine, the appearance, the fan interaction. Like, we're looking at all of that stuff and making sure that we can check off the boxes on all of those. It's not just about your dance or your look or whatever. You have to be a complete package to really be a professional, cheerleader or pro sports dancer, or however you want to call it these days.
Yeah. I know, it's almost like Pro Cheerleading Podcast. Should we change our name to something else? Have you witnessed literally like meltdowns in the training camp process where maybe somebody's like, really trying to have on that face and and then you see the bitch come out, or like, I don't know, like where people just...
people, the one thing I do like about training camp is it does get to show you some other things that you won't normally see at the audition. You get to see attitude sometimes, like you're speaking to. Sometimes you get to see sometimes if people are prepared. You get to see, do they follow directions? You get to see, their professionalism. And if, it said that this is the standard, or, we need you to wear this and be here at this time and yada, yada, yada. How much extra effort that person takes. Are they going to go the extra mile? You get to see a lot during the training camp process, because, I can't offer you a job off of a 7 or 8 hour audition. Like, I've got to know more about you in order to be able to rock with you, for these 100 or so routines that we're going to do a year, because, somebody's not going to make it.
Yeah.
Hey, survival of the fittest.
Yeah.
It's tough, and it's strenuous, and you do have to be a lot of things. And sometimes for some dancers, it can seem unattainable, but it is attainable. You just got to know the game and, you know, realize everything that you're getting to. Some people may be amazing dancers, but may lack in the polish department, or may lack in the professionalism department, or they may be the most poised and professional, but may not be the most entertaining to watch. You know what I'm saying? And it's hard to be both of those because they're almost two different personality types. But you've got to be able to, you know, have that fierce one and also have that professional person. You've got to be able to turn them on and off, and sometimes combine the two. So it's tough. And I don't think people realize that, you know, you don't just come and learn a combination and we give you a job. You know.
Yeah, no, I'm so glad you're saying it. I'm so glad you're saying that, because I think there's so much emphasis, especially when I'm just going off of like what we hear from people, where they're so focused on the dance and dance questions and technique this and that. And, you know, I'm just hoping that they also understand all the other aspects that would actually make them a good member of a team, and understanding how to show that as well in the auditions process. And so training camp must be this, I mean, we didn't have it, and I don't know if I would have, we did not, but it is a good way to really truly earn your spot on the team, I would say.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, I just think as a coach, it just shows you a little bit more that you won't get in the audition process about professionalism. You know, it shows you about the character, you know what I'm saying, and the professionalism, and that person as an employee, you know. So I think that's the whole point of the training camp process, is to be honest.
Okay. Yeah. So we shouldn't fear them.
No. But just know how to get through them.
No, exactly. And we couldn't speak to that. I gave my little thoughts. It sounds like I was a little in the ballpark of what I would try to do if I were in that position, especially, like you said, it's enough to even just make it to training camp. But, you know, if you get in your own head and you're getting overwhelmed with, you know, the choreography, or focusing on one aspect of it and forgetting that you also have to kind of show your positivity, or, you know, focusing on all the other things to do right. Very, very great advice for people.
Yeah. And the fact he has to manage 125 different personalities.
Yeah, seriously.
That's a lot on you too, so.
Listen, I don't even want to get into that. Honestly, though, I will say this, like, even though I do have a lot of people, I am blessed to work with some of the best talent, I think, in this area. And I really can say that for the most part, like, my entertainers get it and understand and know the call, and they make the job easy, and they make the job fun for us because they're here for the right reason. So
that's good.
Yeah. And that training camp process helps you pick them out.
Yeah, exactly.
For real, weed them out, man. But I mean, and I just have to say, I mean, I went to school at Georgetown, and I have so much love for the DC area, but whenever I see, you know, the Wizards dancers or the Redskins cheerleaders coming together at different events, like obviously PRO, and there's just something about DC dancers. Like, it's just something in the air, water. And I know you're not technically, you know, hailing from DC, but what you guys are doing with your programs and how well the dancers and entertainers come off, and not even come off, that's just who they are and how they are, and how much respect and love they have for one another across teams and everything. It's just really, really cool to see. And I just think between your program, the Redskins program, it's just very, just very, very well done.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we definitely support, you know, each other. You know, a lot of the dancers are friends and they hang out with one another. They have come and, you know, come to our practices and come and have been our guests at games. We've gone to their games and tailgated with them and gone to their rehearsals and things like that. Like, we definitely try to support each other. They come to our final showcase, which we haven't had one in a while, but we go to their events. It's important. Stephanie and I have been great friends for a long time before I even came here, with working with each other, with All Pro, actually. So just, you know, I think came in, it was just natural. She already knew who I was and was able to kind of introduce and help me navigate working through that and bringing the teams together. And she and I are super cool, so our teams are cool, and it just works out. So yeah, we actually have a really good relationship, and you don't see that everywhere.
No, you don't. Well, I guess that's a good segue to talk about the dance conventions. And how long did you do PRO? We know that Pro Action Dance, this was your first year, but let's
oh my gosh, I've been at PRO maybe 9 years, I want to say 9. I've been doing PRO since I was coaching semi-pro. I coached semi-pro arena football and a women's football team with the Houston Energy. And I kind of did did one of their Real Deal conventions one time, and then they invited me to go to their convention, and have been working with them ever since. And it's been great. And then AARP really kind of helped me navigate to and start to kind of build a name for myself within the industry, to be able to help me get the Wizards and kind of become the choreographer that I am, exposing me to so many other different types of styles and stuff within the industry. So I thought that was really important. Pro Action was something new, and a couple of weeks ago gave me a call, and where numbers were high and they were looking for some extra people, and I was honored to be associated with them. They're a huge mega convention, and I've supported their convention as a customer with my team with both conventions, and but just to be able to be a part of that, and this is their 10-year anniversary, was huge. And I'm extremely still excited, still haven't kind of come down off of that high yet, you know what I'm saying, from being in Vegas, and just really being able to be a part of that and share my work and my choreography with some of the best collegiate and professional dance teams in the country. So it's a great opportunity, and I'm just honored to work with both organizations. It really says a lot.
Super cool. Do you kind of save your mega super awesome routine for the conventions, or do you just get inspired to create these masterpieces for them?
Yeah, it kind of just depends on the music and kind of what they want to do and what I'm feeling. And my style, I try to keep it's high energy, and it's hard, but it's also clean at the same time. And it's not all of my movement is very big, but it's not always super intricate. Sometimes it can be, but I just try to present as much variety as possible, and just really just get driven by entertainment value. That's the one thing I keep pitching to my dancers, performance value, the entertainment value. And, I just kind of hear the music and start, and I just go, and I just don't stop. And that's just kind of how it comes out. Sometimes I
pushes people too. You push people who can do a flip, who can do a handstand. Okay, who can do this? I was like, what is going on?
And you just kind of start going, and your brain starts popping, and it's like, boom, this trick. Yeah, I love tricks, obviously.
Yeah.
So I just go, and it's crazy. I listen to it and kind of know what I want to do it with sections, and just kind of feel everything else and kind of let it flow with me. Everybody choreographs very weird and very differently.
It's very second nature, though. It's just like, yep, this is what we're doing. I already came up with it 5 minutes ago. Okay, here we go.
Or sometimes I'll come up with it in the car, and you can tell, because I'm like, okay, down on 5, up on 6, and they're like, that's not possible. You made this up in the car, didn't you? And I'm like, listen,
just do it, or try. Okay,
up on 7, and then sometimes when I can do it, they'll test me. They'll say, well, demonstrate. And then I'll do it. And I'm like, ooh, actually, you can get up on 6. They're like, darn. We kind of laugh and play with that. But I've been blessed with dancers that trust me and trust my vision. And if I say, hey, this is this crazy trick we're going to do, they'll give me that look. But then, eventually they'll say, okay, let's do it. Let's rock it. We trust you, and we make it work. And, so it's good. It's good. I'm just really blessed, and I get to make a career doing what I love to do. You know what I'm saying?
You can tell you love it.
Absolutely.
So I'm sidebarring for 5 seconds, because didn't we do Mamma Mia?
I think you did Mamma Mia. Yeah,
yeah, I did do Mamma Mia. Yeah.
Oh my, get my facts right real quick. Oh my gosh, I just loved the energy of that dance. It was so much going on, and so quick.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Oh my God, that was so long ago. Woo, I remember that. Yes.
Oh my gosh, I just had that flashback. I was like, that had to be his choreography that we came back with. But one of my favorite dances, because you get to see the different styles for NFL, and I feel like now it's finally blending a little bit more with NBA style. But when we got to do that, I was like, okay, that is so different from what we get to do in Seattle. So that one,
I'm glad y'all got to do it. That was a fun routine.
It was so fun.
We had paint up our back at the end, and we're ending, we just put it all out there.
We made
That's right. It was floor work and everything. I do remember that. Yes.
It was.
Ooh, I gotta pull that one out.
You should.
Good idea.
That one's fun.
It was a really fun one. So what's been your favorite, I don't know, or most proud choreography moment? I know that you went to London, and you probably did so many different things.
Yeah, London was a really cool moment. One of my all-time favorite routines, there are 3. I did one at All Pro years ago to Beyonce, Who Runs the World. And that was the first routine that the Wizards performed under my direction. So that will always be kind of like one of my top, just because it was my choreography, but it was also my first performance as an NBA manager at the time. And then Bugatti, do y'all remember that?
Yes!
Didn't we bring that one back too?
I think we
Well, we did it to a different song, I think.
Yeah.
That's you too. Okay.
Why is that one of your
That was
favorites?
another one. And then just a lot of this new stuff that I've been able to do lately with the team being Coed. One thing I've got to do this year was change and elevate my style and get out of my box. I created a box. I had a style and it was good and it worked. But like I had to force myself to be different and do a lot. And like some of this season, I think I've done some of my best work that I've ever done. I mean, I know there's like 5 or 6 routines that I'm like, yo, like this is, and then choreographing them when I was injured, maybe it was all the medication I was on, but some of the stuff that I was coming up with was like great, and it was just different, and I was pushing myself out of the box and out of my norm. So like that was super, super cool. So, you know, definitely the stuff I've done this year, but those 2 I think are like my all-time favorites. Bugatti, Who Runs the World, and you can pick many routines from this season.
Oh my God. Well, Brittany asked, I don't know if you heard her, but why Bugatti?
Why was that one of your favorites?
I don't know. It was just something about, I made it up. It was just fire. And I still use that choreography to this day. It was just timeless and it just hit. And like, I don't know, like I remember making it up and I debuted it at All Pro years ago, and the way it was received and how many teams did it, and it was crazy. I think that was one of the first routines that I think that really where other people started to realize who I was as a choreographer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
in the industry, and that was that kind of routine that like set the bar for me, and then I was able to raise the bar from that one. So I think, you know, that's why that routine is so special.
Yeah, sometimes songs are just so good that when there's such a amazing routine to it, and that marriage, it just makes it, like you said, timeless, and like you can never get tired of doing it, seeing it, teaching it. So that's amazing.
So what do you do in your vault of like choreo? I mean, I'm sure that obviously there's videos and stuff like that, but do you really have them all in your head where you could kind of bust out?
No, not all of them. If I think about it long enough, or if I watch a video, like I can probably stumble, you know, kind of go through most of the routines. And the good thing about being able to and have choreographed so much is that I'm able to I can pull stuff from a dance I did in 2007 and I'll just say, oh, like that combination works right here. And how I remember it, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It's this crazy system that I have in my head. Yeah. So yeah, you're right. I guess it is kind of just all in my head, and I'm able to just kind of pull from it or pull it and make it a little bit different or modify it to make it a little bit more current. It's crazy how you can just pull back from stuff that you've done in the past and reuse it or repurpose it in another way. So I actually do a lot of that.
Because you can't tell. Like we're just looking at each other because, I mean, it's a joke really sometimes within our squad over the years, is because you can mess up doing any routine because it's kind of like the same little sequences that'll be in like 5 different routines. And so your body just is programmed to, I don't know, do the next move sometimes. But
kind of a Frankenstein Maj Podge routine.
Exactly.
So.
But it's great, obviously, with choreography where you can pull from that, but also just kind of give it a good twist, because so it's not, you can recognize it as one of your routines because you have a very distinct style, but it's not like, oh, he's doing that move again, or, you know.
Like exactly. Yeah, you got to just modify it and make it look different. And sometimes if it's from far back, people don't know anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah,
put it to another song.
Yeah, I cut the music on and I just kind of start moving, and whatever comes, like that's kind of what we do. You know, it's a weird gift. Choreography, I think, is definitely a gift. Like, it's just to be able to think visually and all that stuff is truly a gift. So.
And you could do it in your car, but where else do you kind of go to the gym? Are you like an early morning person? Do you wake up in the middle of the night and like, oh, I have to write this?
I bet he's a no sleeper like you.
He has to be a no sleeper.
Oh yeah, I'm a no sleeper. I just don't sleep. So one of the good things about monumental and with the company is they do respect that the time that I need to choreograph. So actually, now what's working is I spend a lot of my mornings doing choreography, and I'll kind of just chill and I'm like relaxed. I'm either sitting in the bed or I may make some breakfast or whatever, and I just listen to the music and I'm able to chart it out, write it out, and then I will, get ready and go into the office. And I try to do that the second half of the day. So it's like I'm coming into the office and I'm already there. Then I can go to rehearsal, come back home. Sometimes it's back to the office. It just depends. But, when I need to take time to do choreography, like they let me do it. If I need to take 2 days out of the week to say, hey, I need to choreograph these next 2 games, for these next few games, like I can do that. They respect that. That also is a part of my job. And yeah, without that time, like the dances don't happen. So, the car is where the fire stuff I think comes from. When I really want to deliver something, I just get on the highway and I drive around 495 and I just listen to it over and over again. And what's weird is like I'm driving and I can see the road, but I can also see like the dance on the freaking windshield. It's weird. It's weird. I don't know why, and it's completely unsafe, but that's just how it comes. Sometimes it comes in dreams. Sometimes it comes off the top of my head. It's just whatever I'm feeling that day.
You're just doing what you were born to do. So it comes
exactly. So it comes out all kinds of crazy ways. But I'm just, as long as it keeps coming, then that's fine.
Yeah. I can't imagine you ever running out of ideas. Gosh, this is like so. My cheeks hurt. I think I've literally been smiling this whole entire time.
Yeah, both walks. I got it right here. I just talked to Derric.
What advice would you give people who are interested in becoming a choreographer or making a team? I mean, I'm sure you have like a wealth of information of what you've seen with people trying to make teams over the years and where they really struggle. What would you say?
Right. If someone wants to become a choreographer, especially in sports, all the experience is the same. I started off, coaching teams where I barely made any money for it, but that was okay because I knew what my end game was. And I was able to make it for myself in a female-dominated industry. There was a time where I was the only male director in the NBA. I still maybe, I'm not really sure. But, there are very few men who do this. But I always stuck to, and I knew and I took jobs and positions that related to the experience to what my ultimate goal was. Mm-hmm. So, I worked with the semi-pro football. While I was working with the Rockets, I didn't just do dance. I learned game operations and game presentation as well, just so that I could understand and be a little bit more, make myself more diverse and more marketable when it came to, working in sports. Because what if the dance opportunity didn't come up? Then I could at least do game presentation and then loop back in if I needed to. So I just kind of had a master plan and just kind of was very calculated with how I moved and made sure I did everything right, but just was ultimately had a goal, and I gave whatever I put in, whether it was Houston Energy, the Rockets, the Texans, all pro or whatever, pro action, whatever I do, it involves dancing. I give it, 250%. Because again, like my ultimate goal is to maximize this opportunity and this blessing that I have, to its complete fullest. So that's the thing. And then for people struggling to get on teams, don't be afraid to go semi-pro, listen and like study. Like, I think that's what people don't do. They don't study. If you want to get on a team, you need to go to 5 or 6 games for that team so you can see them at a game, on the concourse, or go to some appearances that they have. And you got to really just immerse yourself into it, know your strengths, know your weaknesses, know how to play the auditions. Auditions is a mental game. It is physical and it is about your talent, but it also is a mental thing. And you just got to know how to play the game. And if you have this goal, be real with yourself and do what it is you need to do to get there. And, if you do that and you put your best foot forward, you can. And also don't be afraid to relocate. Just because you may not make it in, Seattle where you guys are, or you may not make it in DC, doesn't mean that you can't go to Florida and walk on a team. Doesn't mean you can't go to New York and walk on a team. And all dance experience is good experience. Take class. Like take class. If you're serious about it, you've got to dancing at this level is a lifestyle. It's not a hobby. Right. And I think some people approach it from that, this is something cool to do, but this is a lifestyle and you've got to immerse yourself in this lifestyle in order to be successful at it.
Gosh, that's a truth bomb.
Yeah, it is.
I think sometimes people when they set goals, sometimes it's a disconnect of like how to get there, and maybe the goal just sounds good, but you really aren't like committed to knowing what work you're really having to put in to get there. And I think
to get there, yeah, you got to look at it and make sure that the moves you're making get you to the end game.
Yeah.
Like you've got to make sure that you're running the race, and that you got your map and you know what you're doing.
Yeah,
and everything has to align to that goal. This is tough to do, and very few women and men get the opportunity to do it. It's one of those once in a lifetime opportunities that people all want, but are you willing to put the work in to be able to get it?
Yeah,
right.
Seriously.
And for those people who audition year after year, it's like, change it up. Like, what are you missing? You need to self-evaluate and see where you're falling short and be honest with yourself.
And 9 times out of 10, it's the same thing, the same problem as the year before.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Same problem. It's the same problem.
Because we know what happens. I mean, you go through like the mourning period where you didn't make it, and you kind of wallow, and then you fall into certain habits, and then depending on when you decide, okay, I'm gonna go after my dream, and it's really got to be something you're breathing and focused on, I would say.
And you're focused on doing it, yeah.
Where it's not like, 2 months before, let me get it together. No, you probably didn't spend enough time working through how to
work through. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's the number one thing that prevents people from making teams. It's just they're not prepared and putting in the work and not moving properly.
Got you. Thank you for sharing that. We get so many questions again, and I just think so many answers are coming from this episode, so I'm kind of pumped. Ooh, I have a question. Based on like your choreography style, obviously you're with a very supportive organization. Do you ever get the feedback that we see online in a lot of articles about like that so-and-so told so-and-so team to tone down the sexy and, wear less revealing outfits and kind of like tone it down? Do you hear things like that, or do you get
not
into that with your choreography?
A little bit when we made some changes recently. We did get that. I think with everything that was going on, that would probably that was something that we should consider or think about, which is true. But I don't think it was a kind of a slap on the wrist. It was more so of we respect that and understand that we have extremely talented dancers, but this is just something we need to look at and be mindful of. And more so being proactive about, which I agree, which I agreed with, and then changing the team and changing the name and adding men just caused a slight shift, in the dynamic naturally. Being Coed, you can't necessarily rely on sexy always. You have to rely on choreography, and you have to rely on power, or you have to rely on energy or visuals or things like that. So it forces you, not that it's a bad thing, but it forces you not to just think everything can be sexy. Right. And, and you know what I'm saying? And not that that's the bad thing. Lord knows I love me a good risque number. But just, I think it did open me up to thinking more about visuals, production value, entertainment factor, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes, being more family friendly and tying that in, was important, as well. And just, I think we all get a little bit of that, here and there and every now and again, but also dance is expression of music, and, music right now, if you turn it on, is very risque in nature with what we're talking about and what's popular. So of course,
that's my type.
There's risque movement. Right. But if you look at all the popular dances that have been going on, and this is from the 90s, dance is just right now in a risque phase. It's kind of phasing out of it on, I think, with all these other things that are going on. But I think what brought on a lot of some of this flack, if you will, that has gotten into just dance as a whole, not even just in the pro sports industry, just dance was just in a very risque place. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. As what it is. I mean, and that was filtering even down to, some of the kid competitions. I've judged for a while, and, I've seen some stuff where it's like, okay, even the little kids are wearing some of these things or dancing to some of these songs. And I mean, it just is what it is. Me as a dancer, I don't see it like that. Right. I see it as an interpretation of art, but I can understand where someone else may have a problem with it. You know what I'm saying? And, you got to remember your dance team is still tied to a business. It's still tied to an organization. You know what I'm saying? And to a corporate organization who have season ticket holders or shareholders or something like that, that they do have to be responsible and do have to answer to. So, you know, from the business side of that, you know, you do have to take that into consideration. And I think that's the toughest thing about dance teams in sports, is that balance between corporate and respecting the art form, right?
Right.
And I think that's the root. I ain't gonna say the complete root, but one of the roots of the conflict is how do we respect the art, but how do we also be, you know, mindful to our audience and stuff like that. So, you know, it's always going to be a game of cat and mouse and give and take and all that stuff, but you've got to just be willing to ease up a little bit, or also not, you know, and people just have to be able to be willing to give and take, I think, on both sides.
Exactly.
Flexibility.
No, that perspective is wonderful, because it's a balancing. It's the whole ecosystem and different players, different stakeholders, different considerations, and they all can be kind of swirled around and thought through and given, you know, consideration to, and like you said, give and take.
I agree. I totally agree.
I just love your whole perspective. What are you wanting to do, Lock or Talk, or Drop It Like It's Hot?
You know what? I'm gonna drop it like it's hot first of all. Drop it like it's hot.
Okay.
I don't know what I got myself into, but you know, you got me.
We added some extra questions just for you. No, I'm just kidding.
Gonna be the quickest responder, I think.
Oh, hell yeah. We're going to be not even able to keep
We're going to run out of questions.
Okay.
You ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
I can't decide.
I know. Okay. Cake or pie?
Cake.
What was your last Halloween costume?
Where's Waldo? I was Waldo.
Oh, nice. I like that.
Okay, Twitter or Instagram?
Instagram.
Real Housewives or Game of Thrones?
You know what? I'm gonna go ahead. Real Housewives.
Yes.
I love it. Oh my gosh.
Scale of 1 to 10, how good of a driver are you in DC? Come on.
Ooh, I'm about a 6.
Ooh.
I cannot drive. I can, but I can. I mean, I can, but yeah. DC, you know how DC traffic is.
It's terrible.
No one drives well in DC.
That's true.
They're too bad. There's too many people.
What personality trait has gotten you in the most trouble?
I have a very smart mouth at times, and my mouth has gotten me into a lot of trouble. Yes.
Love it. Where's your favorite place to travel?
My favorite place I've been is Rio. I've been there, I think, 2 or 3 times, but yeah, that's my favorite place.
Okay.
Rio.
80s or 90s music?
90s.
Yes.
Okay. All right. What song is on repeat right now that you're feeling?
Have y'all heard this new Beyonce Lion King album?
Not the whole thing, but I love the brown skin.
There is a song on there called My Power.
Okay.
It's off the chain that I can't stop listening to. That and Bounce Back by Little Mix.
Oh. I don't know if I've heard that one yet.
No.
Research it.
It's good.
Okay. It will be on the Spotify.
It's like old school vibe with a new school. It's hot. When you hear it, you're going to call me back and be like, oh my God, that's what
We will.
We definitely will. You're our best friend now. So yeah, we'll call you back. No, I'm just kidding.
What is your spirit country and why?
My spirit country would probably be... That is a really good question. My Lord.
Lindsay Rosenberg.
My spirit country would be... I'm going to say the USA. Because even though I may not agree with everything that goes on, and I don't really want to get into that right now, with the state of our country, this still is a place where equal opportunity can be, achieved, where, you can come, and this is a place that is welcoming, you know what I'm saying, and founded on, and I just live my life like that, you know what I'm saying, where I try to be welcoming, and I try to be fair and be equal. Like, you know, I'm really a big sap and a sweetheart at the end of the day with this smart mouth, but but yeah, I mean, I think, you know, for me, I would say that either there or Brazil, because Brazil also kind of matches up with my wild and crazy side that we're not going to get into, and y'all not going to get into either.
I was like trying to find the questions that would get into it, but no.
No.
Okay, let's see. One more. If you were arrested with no explanation, what would your friends and family assume you had done?
If I was arrested with no explanation, oh God. They would probably assume that I got in some sort of altercation and probably hurt somebody or did something that it would be something like that. Something with me and somebody trying me or something like that, and me reacting kind of crazy. I think, yeah.
Okay.
If I got arrested, it would be because of that.
Like your mouth kind of got you in some kind of
you know, I tell people, don't let the dancing fool you now. I can get with you if I need to.
Okay.
Don't let the dancing fool you. Do not.
I so feel you. Did you have one more?
Yes.
You should get one more too. Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
No, you should get one more.
Oh, okay. I was reading this one. Okay. I kind of like it. If you could shop for free at one store, which one would you choose?
Zara.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Love that store.
Okay.
That's an easy one. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Obviously, I could keep going, but we will respect your time.
I'm really honored that you guys thought of me, you know, and I'm happy that I got this experience. And whenever you guys want to talk, like, let's do this again sometime.
Oh my gosh.
And come back to a game, and this time, like, y'all got to hang with me.
Okay. We'll do.
Yeah. So if you guys ever come back in DC, let me know. Shout out to Jasmine too for getting you guys tickets and everything like that. She's amazing. Love her. But yeah, if you guys ever want to come back, let me know, and I'll make sure that we take care of you.
Oh my
Thanks
gosh.
for your time. It was an honor, and good luck at auditions.
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank y'all so much.
Of course. You have an amazing night.
Seriously.
Thank you. You too. I appreciate your time. Y'all have a
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I feel like we've had so many amazing interviews and so many amazing ones to come, but this was like hands down one of my ultimate favorites.
Yeah, I would say top 5 for me, for sure. I'm acting like we've been around for 50 years. I mean, it was awesome to just hear, like, walking us through the decision and how, just the corporate aspect of it, right? It's still a sports brand. It's still you're part of a larger organization, and just, I really appreciated hearing how the decisions come down and how he was able to contribute and his opinions and input into that, and just the dialogue, because we're just hearing it after the fact, right? And I thought it was really fascinating to hear how he approached just trying to have that give and take with the organization, and then, you know, how he managed it. I mean, that's a lot under his belt and responsibility, and the way that he cares clearly for all of his teams, I just think is really inspiring. Like, people have been posting ever since we shared the clip about what an awesome, amazing coach he is and all that he does for his teams. And so I think we're really, really lucky to talk to him. I don't know why he says he's honored. Like, we're freaking honored. Okay, Derric, we're freaking honored to have you. Thank you so much for talking to us. I mean, it was amazing. And you're
I was like, mic drop. No, but I just love that he not only shared like how he got to the point where he's at, but also just how he manages his time management and just all the teams, and even some audition tips, because when we interviewed him, he was going through auditions for the Wizards. So just, he was in that mindset, but I felt like he totally gave great tips. So it was just awesome to have basically an interview touch on many different topics, not just their story. So it was great to talk to him, and he killed me at PRO, and I was intimidated to talk to him, but he's such a nice guy. Yeah, very cool.
So we will be hitting you up, Derric, when we come to DC. We're just excited to see how your teams grow this season, and wish you all the best. You guys, let us know what you think about the episode. We have been loving all the interaction on our social media accounts. People are actually interacting on Twitter now. I'm still, got like 100 bucko 5 in terms of followers, but keep bringing us stories and information and topics, and let us know what you think about Derric's episode.
We appreciate you guys. Until next time.
Give some money to Patreon so we can go to these games. No, I'm kidding. Keep your eyes on the sidelines. But for real, don't give us some money.
Okay, bye.
Help us, we're poor. Bye.